Faith and Whatever Game Club Episode 2.
Wow.
Well, welcome to the Game Club. I'm James Yule. Next to me here, you might notice from our other podcast, is Garrett Gearhart. And beside him is, for his second episode ever, Jose Castaneda. Technically third, but we never published that episode because he was on it.
Because it was trash.
And
because of me.
And behind the camera, we have Chris Carmen, who's taking care of all the tech for us. And today, for the Game Club, we are playing the game Inside, which is a fairly new release. And as we get started here, Jose, why don't you get us started? What did you think about the game, Jose?
Oh, man. I thought it was a good game for the puzzles and the art style. I also like the jump scares that are in the game.
Jump scares.
Yeah, those were pretty cool.
Yeah, what did you think about the environment?
Oh, I loved it. It definitely gives you the sense of, like people are after you. And you're trying to kind of survive.
Stupid dogs.
Yeah.
Scared me every time.
And yeah, it's just really
James
cool.
doesn't
I
like
think
dogs.
Dogs are nice, though.
I have to deal with dogs here at Marion Ranch.
What about you, Chris? What do you think about it?
I think you're right. It's absolutely a beautiful looking game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just watching the video of it right now. We're playing. It's just gorgeous looking. It's got that cool, what do they call it, the parallax effect?
What is that?
Where some of the foreground and the background don't move at exactly the same rate, so it feels like you're moving.
Side-scrolling, like Limbo?
It is side-scrolling, but it's...
But the angles change.
It's like 2.5D or whatever.
Okay.
Where it's not quite three-dimensional, but it feels a little more three-dimensional.
That's cool.
I was commenting earlier that it's so beautiful that I got a little depressed because you're kind of quickly breezing by some really well put together scenery, right? Mm-hmm. There was times when I was like, oh, this is a really cool area I'm in, and now I'm gone. Goodbye. Right?
Yeah, it makes you kind of wish it was a sandbox.
Yeah. So you have to do
stop
some
and
things.
explore stuff. And
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of found myself wanting to go to like the background of the game, but then I realized that I couldn't, so I was like, oh man, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I want to go check out what's over there, Now,
talking about the environment, just to be completely honest, I thought the first half of the game, it was very compelling. I really liked the environment. But I thought as you got into the second half of the game, it became far more boring and sterile, especially basically once you go underwater permanently. I thought that the underwater areas were not nearly as creative or nearly as sort of emotive as the sort of earlier outdoor areas and some of the other spots in the farms.
Yeah.
And even when you get out of the water, you're sort of in a, for the most part, you're kind of in a laboratory context. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't digging it as much as like the earlier design.
I got the vibe that it was more like you're kind of in a dystopia, kind of like a communist country.
Yeah.
That's kind of the feeling that I got
Papers,
out of
please.
it. So that was kind of a weird kind of feeling, like putting myself in a situation where,
there's
maybe like
other
North
people
Korea.
in it?
Yeah.
No.
There's AI?
No,
Yeah.
well, yeah, there's other people in the game, but they're NPCs. So.
Yeah, I just remember like Limbo was so lonely.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there was some people, there was like some bad kids, remember, that tried to kill you?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Those stupid kids.
Yeah, and there's the spider. That was something I was always waiting for. By the way, we haven't mentioned it yet because we had to do a re-record, that this is a spiritual sort of follow-up to Limbo. Some people believe that it might be a direct sequel or in the same world as Limbo, but that's not. The game company hasn't confirmed that. In fact, they don't confirm anything about.
The scene right there
ideas.
looks amazing.
That was a pretty cool scene. That's the scene
creepy.
you're talking. Yeah, not in the gameplay. The scene you're talking about, Garrett, is when you get to a place where there's a lot of upside down corpses. Pretty
crazy.
Cool. Yeah.
Is that the underwater area?
You've got to see it. We don't want to spoil too
Yeah.
much of the later game.
Exactly.
Because a lot of it's about kind of what you run into. It's not so much plot. You're not going to spoil much plot because it doesn't really tell you much. It's more about what will you see.
Corpses, apparently.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I didn't like about the game was the story. If there is one, it just kind of, I feel like it went over my head, or there just wasn't anything in it for me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think they did the same thing with Limbo, in which they didn't give a clear story and they didn't give a clear ending.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked back then because back then the indie scene was fairly new and fairly small, and Limbo was just such a big leap for that scene. And Playdead, Limbo was so unique in so many ways that some of the ambiguity was fine. Problem is you can't rely on ambiguous storytelling twice in a row. At least I don't think so. And I didn't appreciate the same approach happening in this game. I expected there to be some kind of substantive storytelling, some sort of explanation, and frankly, you never really get around to it. You mean there's an ending, but without spoiling what it is, it didn't solve anything for me. Right?
So you don't think that can just be a style of games, a very ambiguous storyline, and you just captivated by the gameplay?
Well, I think it's cool. It's sort of like imagine a TV show that always ends that way, right? It's like you can have those endings and they're great as a every once in a while thing, but
it's like every season of Lost.
right?
People love that.
Yeah. Well, as for me, I didn't want them doing that twice in a row.
You don't think the whole thing's just a commentary on modern society with all the zombies running around and the person trying to escape?
It could be. It could be.
I felt like it was kind of speaking on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, but honestly, I'm getting the suspicion that for both Limbo and Inside, there actually isn't any answer. That the developer actually has no story in mind, but instead just put together what they knew would be a ambiguous environment that suggests there should be story and never actually bothered to create story even for themselves.
And some people's favorite games have that kind of story, like a Portal, and even Portal 2 that has a further storyline. Are people's favorite games because you can almost come up with your own explanation of why you're there and what exactly is the main goal of your character. You know?
Right. What are your motivations? You never know. I believe Portal, the main character's name is Shell, right? That sounds right to me. I think it's Shell. And you never know what Shell's motivations are other than you probably don't want to die by the
just
hands
move on
of...
to the next room and, like that moment where you realize that you're supposed to escape. You're like, I guess I'll escape. Portal 2, though, did do a lot more in the way of fleshing out the background of what happened there in that place. Whereas, I don't know, I didn't want twice in a row there to be just ambiguity at the end. And that bothered me. Now, and another thing that actually kind of bugged me, another criticism I have of it, is I was waiting for the equivalent of the Limbo spider. Now, in Limbo, the spider comes fairly early in the game, less than midway through. And so he's certainly not like a boss character or anything like that. But I thought the spider was so compelling or so interesting, really sticks in the memory. Well, it's the very first time you realize that there's something else in this world other than buttons and jumps.
Right.
You're like coming along and you just, and all of a sudden something attacks you. And I think for 99% everyone kills them in the very first time.
It's gruesome.
Chops your head off.
Yeah.
Because you didn't even know there's no way to know it's there. I think part of the storyline is like, okay, we're going to kill the character right now.
Yeah. And what I liked about the spider was that there was a kind of a developing story with it in which you had multiple interactions until a final scene with the spider.
That's right. Don't you break off his leg, and then you see him again, and he's missing a leg?
Right. Things kind of keep happening. Arguably speaking, Inside didn't have a spider. There's a swimming character that might be considered the spider, but I didn't. If that's the case, I don't think that's a very good replacement. Jose, do you hear what I'm saying? Do you understand? Like, there wasn't that one thing where I was like, oh, that's the antagonist that's going to really stick the way the spider did.
Exactly, I didn't feel like there was anything like that in this game. You're just kind of going through the... I don't know. I don't even know what I was
trying
doing.
to get inside.
Just solving puzzles for me. Yeah, that was it. And, the end was kind of like... I was expecting for something else to happen, and it never came. So, I was kind of let down by that.
Yeah. Chris, what was the time you had for us there?
We're at 9 minutes.
We're at 9 minutes. Wow, that went by fast. So,
we can't get any Limbo action going on here.
They're seeing the video right now. They're not even seeing your hand.
Got it.
They're gonna see it next time for the next part of the episode.
Got it. I'm new with this.
So, Chris, before we close out, any thoughts on the game? Anything you want to?
No, just really interesting. Fun to look at. I don't know if, like you said, it's not quite the same groundbreaker that Limbo was.
Yeah.
In the same way, I think the bar has really been raised for indie games.
Yeah.
But it's a cool game.
Yeah, I kind of get a sense that they didn't know how to advance on anything except the graphics.
Yeah.
And so Limbo was great in many ways. So to continue on what Limbo was is to at least have an okay game. But I would have liked more than just an advancement upon graphics, which is what it ultimately feels like. It just feels like Limbo mechanics and Limbo puzzles with a new coat of paint, a 3D coat of paint. So, having said that, I know you haven't played it yet, Garrett.
Right.
But for the rest of us, the way we like to end these little game clubs is by voting on whether people shouldn't buy the game, whether they should buy it on sale, or whether they should just pay full price for the game. And we'll start with you, Jose.
All right. I think if you're looking for a story, definitely don't buy it, especially for $20. If you're still kind of interested for the puzzles and the art style, I would say go ahead and wait for a sale. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion for that.
I would... Chris, why don't you go ahead?
I vote sale.
Sale?
Yeah.
So if Limbo is your most favorite game of all time, then buy it full price. But for the rest of us, go with the Steam sale. That's what I think. Yeah.
I would probably, I don't know if I'd spend $20 on it. I love Limbo so much. I mean, I played it 2 or 3 times, even though I knew exactly what would happen. I'd be tempted to buy it for $20. I mean, $20 is, I'm not saying that's not a lot of money, but if I want to go watch Star Trek here locally, it's going to cost me $16.50. So it's like watch Star Trek for $16.50 or play a game for 3 or 4 hours for $20. Like, I don't know.
Okay, well, as we wrap up here, look out next week, August 23rd. Look for our game club on Enter the Gungeon. And then after that, on August 30th, we'll be talking about Pony Island. Garrett, you got to be there for that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And then on September 6th, we're going to play Little Rescue Machine. That's going to be the game club of that week. And look out for the next half of this episode as a different video for this week. It'll be coming out on the same day, which is going to be mostly Tuesdays of every week. And you can for now, if you want to submit any questions or observations or requests for games, you can email us at fandwgameclub@gmail.com, or you can find the show on Twitter at FNWGameClub. And you can find me at James YUILE on Twitter. And you can find Jose at twitch.tv/bumfoot with 2 M's.
Yes.
And Garrett here on Twitter at TStudentLife.
Yep.
And for Chris at Marion Ranch on Twitter. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.